Well, good evening, everybody. This is Maxine English coming from Unlocking the Fearless You. And we're here today on another Thursday at 8 p.m. with a very, very special guest. As you can see down there, we have got the Mr. Alan Kleinhans. Let's put him up and let's tell you exactly what he's all about, because he came online with us the other day with me and Bradley. And you know me, I just sit in the background, let Bradley speak, do his thing. And you know what? The amount of information that came out of this gentleman's mouth was absolutely amazing. So introduce yourself of who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Maxine. Appreciate that lovely introduction. Nice to be with you here again on digital media. And I'm South African, as you know, and born and raised in South Africa in a place called Durban on the east coast of South Africa. I've been living in England on and off now for 28 years. Can't believe it.
Wow.
I've lived during that time. I've lived in America. I've lived in Austria. Lived in Moscow. But England's been my home mainly for the last 28 years, and I've really enjoyed living here. In London, in and around London, and different parts of the UK, different
Even with the
counties.
weather?
Say again?
Even with the weather?
Yeah, even with the weather. Yeah, the weather doesn't really bother me. I always joke with people when they talk about the weather. I say, just the sun always shines in your head if you allow it. Yeah, I do. Having grown up in a warm country on the coast and having spent most of my youth on the beach, I do at times miss being able to just get up and go down to the sea and have a swim. Yeah, the weather's fine. It hasn't really ever bothered me. I've always found ways to enjoy the weather, whatever's happening. I always say to people, yeah, when it's, if it's, we have to go through the seasons, and living in England for so long now, and having become kind of, adopted by the English in some way, shape, or form. I often joke with my English friends and say, come on now, the weather seems to be the local sort of pastime here that people talk about whenever they haven't got anything else to talk about, right? But we have to have all the seasons. We have to have the rain, we have to have the wind, and we just had snow here recently in Oxfordshire, which is where I live, in Oxfordshire. We've had a lot of snow, so it's been beautiful and white here. It's all starting to melt now, and it has to be cold sometimes, and but it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to inhibit the way we live, right? So we can take advantage of the weather, whatever's happening. And
Absolutely.
so I've been living here for a long time, and I've have spent most of my time, as you know, just like yourself, is coaching and speaking, working with people around performance and mindset and leadership and communication. Those are my key areas, and I've been studying for 30 years. I started studying. I tell people that I became a student at the age of 21, and they often frown, wondering, what was I doing before the age of 21? And I say, well, I was at school, but I wasn't really a student because, when you call, in my own mind, if you call yourself a student, it means you actively are studying and you enjoy what you're studying. Not everybody at school is a student, and I certainly wasn't one because I didn't enjoy school. I wasn't academically minded, but I did enjoy the camaraderie. I went to boarding school, and I went to two different schools. The first one was a day school. The second one was a boarding school. Both of them private. And much to my parents' dismay, I wasn't academically minded. My parents had great hopes for me getting into university, getting a great degree, and getting a great job, a great career. And it soon became very apparent to all three of us that was never going to happen. And so I was somebody who left school at the age of about 18 years of age, finished matric, and had to go straight into the military. It was compulsory in 1985 when I left school. So 86 and 87 I spent in the military, got all kinds of different training, got moved around the country all over the place, was deployed in certain areas of unrest, and where was a state of emergency in South Africa at the time during 1986. I was deployed down to Cape Town during that emergency time, and there was rioting taking place, etc. And I was deployed in a place called Crossroads. It was a very interesting experience, to use, well, for want of a better word, and certainly terrifying at times, considering I was still very, very young and very newly trained, and the police didn't even want to go into the area that we were sent into because it was so dangerous. And then in 1987, I was deployed into Angola, into Northern Africa, during the height of the civil war there, and came out of the military with post-traumatic stress, and had to process what I'd been through and deal with the guilt and the shame that all veterans deal with whenever they come back from places that are war torn, and when they are work, deployed in war-torn areas and have to participate in those kinds of experiences. It can be very traumatic, and everyone deals with it in different ways. But everyone has to go through that shame and that guilt, which is what veterans deal with. And I went through the same thing, and proceeded to numb myself to that pain using marijuana and alcohol, and for a long, long time, until I discovered personal development. And I was introduced to the subject by a friend of mine, beautiful friend of mine, who introduced me to the book Think and Grow Rich. And I became a reader for the first time in my life. I was 21 years of age. It was July of 1988. And I read Think and Grow Rich. It blew my mind. And I became a reader and a student for the first time in my life. And that is 30 years ago, last July. And I can't believe it's been 30 years. I mean, this will be the 31st year when it comes up, July, 31 years since I read that book for the first time. And I just really thoroughly enjoyed it. I read it 3 times, actually, cover to cover, within the first 6 weeks that it landed in my hands for the first time. And I was hooked. I just thought, wow, this is amazing. Where was this information when I was younger? Why don't they teach this at school? And so I became an avid student of personal development. And my initial motivation, which is what I tell audiences all the time, and this is what a lot of people think. I think a lot of people will resonate with this. I certainly was in that boat at that time until I became more conscious. But at the time, I thought I was broken. I thought that I was on the outside of every group. I thought I was on the, just didn't fit in anywhere. I already had low self-esteem before I even went to the military. I was somebody who was bullied a lot when I was a kid. I was a tiny, frail little kid, and I was, had a funny nose, and I was teased about my flat nose right through my youth. And I remember consciously telling myself all the time when I was going through those tough times, and I really detested being a teenager. I absolutely hated it, and I just didn't like school for the most part, purely because of the fact that I was in the playground, felt alone, and was bullied. And I remember telling myself consciously at the time, I was just talking to somebody about this today, actually. I remember saying to myself, don't worry, Alan, I'm developing rhinoceros skin. I'm developing rhinoceros skin, and one day this will serve me. I'm not sure how it's going to serve me, but one day it will serve me. And so I just learned to toughen up, and I learned to keep things on the outside, and I became kind of withdrawn. I really didn't use my voice. I was afraid to speak out. So when I found personal development, it was kind of like, wow, this is amazing. And I began to read books like, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I began to listen to people like Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor. Brian Tracy became a firm favorite of mine. And, Tom Hopkins, and the sales guy. And when I started getting into work for the first time, it was 1988. I just turned 21. It was August, and I got my very first job. It was a sales job. And I remember thinking, wow, this stuff is really helping me, because I was already, starting to see the progress in my own life. I was becoming more outspoken, more confident. And I just went from book to book to book. And then about 18 months after I first read Think and Grow Rich, I decided to get on an airplane. I arrived in London. It was 1990. And the first book that I bought in London was Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. And that was my introduction to neuro-linguistic programming. I'd never heard of NLP before. And when I read on the back flap of that book, Unlimited Power, I remember reading Anthony Robbins, America's #1 peak performance coach, a master of neuro-linguistic programming. And I thought, wow, what is that? Right? I got to read this book. This sounds interesting. And so it was a thick book too. Tony only writes thick books. And I remember reading that book, and I just could not put it down. And I began to listen to him on cassette tape. I bought 2 cassette tapes that he read, both of them read by the author, Giant Steps and Awaken the Giant Within. And that was my introduction to Tony. And I became a great student of his in 1990. I just couldn't get enough of what he was saying on the cassette. I couldn't get enough of the book. When the next book came out, Awaken the Giant Within, I read that book too. And, just been a student ever since. And then in 1999, after going through Landmark Education, I went through the Landmark Forum. In 94, I did the Landmark Advanced course. I did the Self-Expression and Leadership course. I did the Communication courses. I did every course that Landmark offered at that time. And then I did the Forum Leaders program, and I was training to become the Forum Leader for South Africa. Anybody who knows Landmark will know what that is about. Anybody who doesn't know what the Landmark Forum is, you should check it out. It's very, very good. I recommend it to everybody. And I was training to become the Forum Leader for South Africa. And my goal was to go back to South Africa eventually to become the Forum Leader there. I had already started going back to South Africa from 1996. I began to go back and start doing these little previews for Landmark Forum, and I helped to establish Landmark in South Africa in 1998 for the first time. I was very proud of that fact still to this day. But in 1999, something happened. I saw an advert for Tony Robbins in the paper. It was a very tough time of my life. It was one of the darkest times of my life. I was suicidal. My head was full of knowledge. And I always joke with audiences when I ask the question, how many of you believe knowledge is power? Everybody puts their hand up and I say, that's absolute BS. Knowledge is only knowledge. The world is full of smart, broke people. The world is full of knowledgeable people who are doing nothing. Knowledge does not change your life. Being present and being able to deal with what shows up in your life moment by moment, especially the tough things, that's what makes you powerful. And knowledge leads to that if you apply what you learned. And I had a head full of knowledge. I'd been reading at that stage for 11 years. I'd been studying for 11 years by that stage, 88 to 99. I was a student, all the time. Books, CDs, tapes, workshops, all kinds of stuff. And I was still unhappy. I was even more unhappy than ever before. I was suicidal. I was broke. I was spiritually broken. I was, just in a lot of pain. And on top of that, I was using cocaine every day just to get through the day because it numbed my pain. I was getting high because it numbed my pain. It helped me to forget about the challenges I was having. I was in a lot of debt. I was sleeping on my friend's couch. And on top of that, too, I was working I nearly said 24 hours a day. I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that's 84 hours a week. And I was working at Credit Suisse in a very high-stressed environment. I was working in IT. I was in the IT department. We were looking after the European Command Center. So it was very high-stress, managing, millions and even billions of dollars going through those servers. And we were responsible for making sure those servers never, ever came down or never went down. And I was, coked up most of the time and stressed. And also because I wasn't sleeping much. I was out, every weekend, all night. I wouldn't sleep all weekend. And so it was a very, very, very dark time. And I remember that's when I saw an advert for Tony Robbins in the paper. And I thought, you know what? I'm ready. I missed Tony in 93 when he came to the UK for the first time. I missed him again in 96. I just wasn't ready at the time, and I was too busy having a good time. But in 99, he came for the third time. I was ready. I was in a lot of pain. I was at that point, Maxine, when you're at a threshold in your life, right? When you've had enough and something has to change, right? You can't live like that anymore. And I was like in that place. And so I saw the advert in the paper and I just thought, wow, I've got to find a way to get to this workshop. It was £900. There was no website in those days. It was just a phone number and the price. And I thought, wow, £900. And, when people hear that I was working at Credit Suisse and they hear that I was earning £25 an hour, you would have thought, well, why couldn't I afford it? Because I was 65 grand in debt and I was sleeping on someone's couch and I was living hand to mouth and I was broke. Credit cards maxed, overdrawn, living day to day. And so I had to borrow the money to go to that workshop, and I did. And I got there, and I got there 4 days sober. I got sober 4 days before I arrived at that workshop in Cardiff, Wales. I was pretty wide, very excited, also very anxious. Still, obviously, still with a slight case of post-traumatic stress that I hadn't dealt with. Still the demons that I hadn't exercised yet, that I hadn't healed. A lot of stuff that I hadn't healed, that I had just suppressed, right? That was buried under the knowledge that I had acquired. And I thought I was so knowledgeable and so arrogant, but I was truly, truly unhappy and suicidal. And I arrived at this workshop and I was ready to make a change. And I had a fantastic experience, 4 amazing days. On the third day, I had this intervention with Tony. And for the first time in public, or for the first time really, I opened up about what happened to in Angola and what I'd done and all the things that I was ashamed of, having what I did. I mean, unfortunately, I had to use petrol mortar pipe and an RPG-7 rocket launcher and had to do horrendous things that, tormented me for many years. And opened up in public about this. It just came out like a volcano, erupted, and had this amazing experience with Tony one-on-one. And it literally, turned my life in that moment around, 180 degrees. And I made a firm decision that day to study everything that Tony taught. And by the time the 4th day was over, I was on a massive high and I knew I was focused for the first time. I was determined. I was committed. And then I practiced everything that I learned in that workshop every single morning for 90 minutes for a full year, 13 months, in fact, until it was in my nervous system. By that stage, 13 months later, I'd already done the Life Mastery Program, the Wealth Mastery Program, and the Date with Destiny program that Tony offered, because I signed up for all of those at that same weekend. Even though I didn't know how I was going to pay for it, I just made it happen. And then I went to the Leadership Academy and I set myself a goal that same weekend in 99, July. I said, I'm going to be a trainer for this man one day. I want to be one of his trainers. And I'm going to take this work back to South Africa, and I'm going to help the boys that were in the military with me who have never got over what we went through. And I'm going to help to be part of the transition that's taking place in South Africa. And that's exactly what I did. And I spent 7 amazing years there between December 2001 to August 2008 when I came back to England. And I came back to England in the midst of my own crisis. This is a long answer to your question. But after becoming extremely successful in around 2004, 2005, and having an amazing time in South Africa, several years where I really made a big difference in the country, serving people, running workshops, I came back to this country and I was in the midst of an internal crisis. I was imploding. Nobody really knew what was going on inside, but I was kind of sliding down the other side of my mountain after having got to the top, and I ended up losing everything. In 2010, I moved out of my house, left my wife, left my kids, and I had what some might call like a breakdown. I don't see it as that, but I really did implode, and I lost everything, and I ended up with nothing. I couldn't even, in fact, I even slept in Euston Station one night because I was so ashamed and I didn't have anywhere to go, and I was ashamed to pick up the phone and ask for help. I knew I could have asked for help for many people. I had lots of friends who would have helped me out, but I was just too ashamed. I didn't want to answer any questions. And so I climbed in a hole for 2 years between 2010 and 2012. I licked my wounds. I felt sorry for myself for a while. I fell off the wagon, started getting high again for a short while. Was kind of trying to numb the pain again. Had all the pain came back. I thought, what? And I beat myself for destroying, what I had built. And I'd come so far since 99. And now I was back where I started even worse now because I had a taste of the good life. I had a taste of the success. I had a taste of what I really wanted to do. I was living my dreams for a while, and then I lost everything. And I started all over again in 2012. I started from scratch, but I made a significant shift in my decisions. I decided to climb a different mountain for the right reasons, and it wasn't about money anymore. It used to be about money for me when I was younger because I grew up with no money. And I made lots of money, became very successful. And then what happened was I realized that I was still unhappy, right? Even though I was making so much money, I became one of the best speakers in South Africa, one of the most expensive, one of the highest paid, one of the most successful. Became kind of like, South Africa's Tony Robbins to some degree, what people were calling me at that time. I was proud of it then. I'm not proud of it now because I realized that I was imposter syndrome, which actually I self-sabotaged. And it was a great blessing. It turned out to be a great blessing because I then had to go to work internally properly, and I really went deep, and I learned to become happy in spite of the fact that I'd lost everything, and I learned to be grateful for whatever I had at that time, which my brain was telling me, or my little voice in my head was saying, I've got nothing. But I trained myself to look at the positives. I asked good questions. I focused on what could I appreciate, and I began to rebuild. And it's been, this is the 7th year now since I restarted. And it's been the most amazing 7 years of my life. I can tell you right now, I've never been happier. I've never felt more on purpose. I've never felt more fulfilled. I've got 2 healthy children. I've got a healthy relationship with my ex-wife. We are great friends. We make a great family, even though we don't live together. It's life is amazing, So, and it's just getting better all the time, And it's really about finding what really made the difference for me, which was finding internal happiness in spite of my external circumstances, and learning to find the gift in my adversity. And so I've got 2 great blessings that changed my life: going to war and losing everything. So going to war taught me about love and compassion and how to forgive, and losing everything taught me about how to be happy in spite of my net worth. And because my self-worth was attached to my net worth, which is a lot of people is the case, which is why most people are unhappy, because they look around, especially now, yourself, Maxine, while you do mindset training. You've got people who look on Instagram and Facebook, and then they compare themselves to other people, and then they compare their own net worth to other people's net worth, and then their self-worth is fluctuating depending on how much money they make, and that's wrong. Happiness is an inside job regardless of what's showing on the outside, and you've got to train yourself to feel good in spite of whatever's showing up, and that's how you change your life, by feeling good regardless of what shows up in your life. So that's Absolutely. a long answer to your question.
Yeah, but you're saying it's a long answer to the question, but it's nice to actually, for people to get to know you, who you are and where you've come from. Because, as I said to, when I did a talk yesterday, it was very much that people think when they're up there, you know, that they can't be reached. You know, it's very much that they think, you know, they've always been up there. They don't come from adversity. They don't come from anywhere. They're not like me. I can never get myself there, because that is just self-doubt. That is just self-talk of negativity. And it's very much that some people find that so hard to get out of. And, you know, just sitting listening to your story, it's like I can resonate in a lot of things that you're talking about. It's like from the bullying when you come as a young child and how you felt inside, and the reason why you didn't enjoy school. I was exactly the same. I was bullied all the way through school as well, and I didn't enjoy school. I became the class clown, and I did that to be liked. And
I did exactly the same thing as you. I became the funny person in class, so because I was craving attention.
Yeah. And it was okay. So I wasn't getting it home because my parents were ill. So it's very much that, you know, everything that I had was at school. So I didn't do really any work. And like you said, it's like you're not really a student, because even when I actually went to college, I still was mucking around, going down playing pool with the guys, listening to music, playing computer games. I didn't really study at college. Yeah. So it was very much, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it's the same thing as like when you were saying about, you know, unless you're actually internally happy, it doesn't matter what you do. You're never going to succeed until you are happy inside. And that's the reason why you've taken your cocaine. That's the reasons why, you know, you was trying to suppress everything, because it come down to that you hadn't got rid of your demons from a previous life, really, from when you was a child, right through to everything that you saw when you was in the army and in the military, you know, and everything that you'd seen, everything that you'd gone through, the years that you spent in there, it was all suppressed feelings. And I think personally, if you had actually had someone come up to you and say, talk to me, let's discuss everything and get it out with, get it over with, and you would have sat there and probably bawled your eyes out and actually probably moved forward with it and healed with it. But because being a man, like most men are, and I'm just being honest, is that they suppress a lot of things. They don't like talking about it because then it feels like it makes them weak, but it's not weak at all. But back in those days, it was never really spoken about.
No.
So yeah, so it's very much that obviously you going with the suppression of the drugs and moving forward, no matter what you tried in your life, you was bound to fall off the edge of your cliff, because you still wasn't happy inside.
Absolutely. And you know, boys don't, in South Africa, they all the time when I was a kid, you hear all the time, boys don't cry. Boys don't cry, you know. So I didn't, as a result of that, I you know, when I stopped crying, as you know, when I got to a certain age, I stopped crying because if you cried, you know, you got beaten up even more at boarding school. There was a lot of that kind of stuff, initiation, you know, processes, bullying. There was a lot of, you know, ranks, you know, in terms of hierarchy, etc. And boarding school was very, very tough. And you know, so when I stopped crying and I learned how to not cry, then I just stopped, you know, I stopped feeling, like you say, I just started suppressing. And also I became funny like you. I thought, well, if I make people laugh, then they'll accept me and they won't bully me. And and I looked around and I was very strategic, right? Looking back, I can see how strategic I was. I looked at the biggest boys and I thought, if I make those guys laugh, then they'll accept me. I'll be with them. Then I've got protection. And that's exactly what happened. Now I had this big crew of big guys who liked me because I made them laugh, and I stopped getting bullied. But I'd started to develop a false identity already, you know. And as you know, we stopped developing these false identities, these masks, so we can fit in. And so, but what that meant was that I didn't grieve. And you know some of my story already. And I grew up next door to a police station, which I never mentioned just now. The first 6 years of my life, growing up next door to a police station in South Africa, 66 to 72, what I saw in the police yard next door was horrific. And so I was around that for a long time. Lost a lot of friends to suicide. Even after the military, a lot of my friends committed suicide, couldn't take what we had been through, couldn't, you know, didn't process it effectively. And so, you know, but I didn't grieve. I didn't feel until I actually, and even having gone through all that work that I did, even having gone to some of those programs, you know, and read all those books, I'd still buried it. But it took that immersive experience, you know, that experience, and everything happens for the right time, I believe. I have no regrets. I don't regret a single thing of my life. Everything is a blessing. I can look back now at my whole life and see how everything's connected. And it brings me to this very point. There's no mistakes. That's my personal philosophy. Everything happens at the right time for the right reason when you're ready. And
I completely agree with you, 100%.
In '99, being in that workshop, you know, when that happened, it was perfect. You know, it was just, yeah. And so it's been a great journey, you know. And then now I get to meet amazing people like you and Bradley, and you know, the work we do, you meet amazing people. I'm sure. You know, so we're very blessed to do the work we do, right? It's great work. You know? It's such a blessing. I mean, I absolutely love what I do, and I say this all the time. You know, I would do what I do for free. Absolutely, I would do it for free because it's so enjoyable. You know, fortunately, I don't have to do it for free, but it's something that I would do for free because it's so enjoyable. You know, and that's the mark of real real happiness, I think. If you can say to someone, would you continue doing what you're doing even if you weren't paid? And most people would say no to that because they're only doing what they're doing for money. So I'm glad that I actually managed to have that lesson around money. And when I did, even though it was painful, extremely painful, right? It was so painful. I mean, I faced bankruptcy twice, right? And it's extremely painful. And there's a lot of shame around that as a man. It's a lot of men, it's tied to their identity in terms of achievement and being successful. So I'm glad I've had those experiences. There's no accidents.
That's right. And you know what? I completely resonate exactly what you're saying in every single way. You and me like two peas in a pod. It's so ironic and so weird at the same time, because it's like, I'm very much with my life and the adversities that I've gone through and the pain that I've gone through. And even though my ex-husband in 2011 stamped on my spine and crushed my vertebrae and, and I was physically told that I couldn't work. And so it was very much that my life started then. Even though it was the worst day of my life, it was the best. And the reason why it was the best day of my life, because if I hadn't have gone through that situation, I then wouldn't have started business and I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yes,
and that happened for a reason. Yeah. And it had to happen at that time. It had to happen at that particular place, because if I would have actually done it as an earlier stage, I still wouldn't have got into business. I would have just been a youngster and just thought, I'm going to go out, do whatever, and probably drowned my sorrows.
Well, I think you did. Sorry, say again.
No, so like you do in your 20s.
Yes.
But because it happened in my 30s, it was very much that, that I learned in my own head, because I was happy with myself, even though he'd put my self-esteem through the floor and put my confidence through the floor.
Yes.
I always turned around and said, you may break my back, but you're never going to break my spirit, and you're never going to stop me moving forward. That's never going to happen. And I put that in my head the same day it happened. And even though my children turned around and said to me, Mummy, are you going to die? Because I was literally bleeding from head to toe and they had to drag me to the bathroom because I couldn't walk. It was a testing time. But again, even though I live with the pain, but the more pain that I'm in, the more I want to help other people. The more I want to help them overcome, domestic abuse, family affairs, or anything to do with, helping people. That's what put me in the place I am today. So I can completely resonate with what you're saying. As you said, you're growing a thick skin.
Yes. And I love what you said about your worst day becoming your best day. And I've heard that before. And actually, one of my friends, he has a talk where he talks about that specifically. He talks about his darkest day became his best day. And I say the same thing to audiences. When you can actually, when you can look at what seems like at the time or at that moment in time, your worst experience, your darkest day, when you can look at that and say, how can I turn this into my best day? What can I learn from this? What is life trying to teach me right now? What lesson am I not getting that I keep having the same experience? And this is the thing that you've
been reading my book. I'm sure you've been reading my book, because I say that all the time.
This is exactly why people stay stuck, right? This is why they stay stuck.
Yeah.
Is because they don't recognize that adversity is a gift. Napoleon Hill said it the first time I ever read, Maxine, when I read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich for the first time in 88, it was July of 88. I was 21, fresh out of the military, tormented by my own demons, having nightmares every night, had nightmares for 7 years, drinking myself into the bottom of a bottle every day just to become unconscious so I wouldn't have nightmares. And then I read this book, and in the book it says, every adversity has within it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. I read that for the first time, and my brain said, that's BS. I said, how can you, I even said out loud, I remember saying out loud to the book, as if Napoleon Hill was standing in front of me, I said, how can you say that? How can going to Angola have any benefit for my life? How can dropping mortar bombs on innocent people who are just doing what I've been told to do against me, why are we even there? How can that be beneficial? What I did and what I saw, I think there's no benefit in that. But I read the sentence again. I said, hang on a second. My friend who gave me this book told me to pay attention and told me to read this with an open mind and told me to contemplate very deeply what I was reading. So let me read it again. And I read it again. And I thought, how can he say that? What does he actually mean? And then I wrote the sentence down. I put it on the wall and I contemplated that sentence for months, right? I kept looking at it and thinking, what does that actually mean? And it was only much later on that I realized, what Napoleon Hill means, and it's true. Every adversity has within it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. And if you are open to that fact, then you can turn your darkest day into your best day, because there's always there's always something there. There's always a gift. There's a lesson. There's something. It's life testing you, whatever you want to call it, however you want to describe it. It's life saying, come on now, step up, right? This is a stepping stone to a deeper fulfillment, to a deeper understanding, better wisdom, strength, spiritual strength, whatever you want to say, and it's the opportunity in everything.
Absolutely. And you know what? And I completely agree, because, it's very much that I look at it that, you've got to have rain to make things grow.
Absolutely.
And it's got to happen. And it's like every time I have something, I have adversities coming to me all the time. And I sit there and I go, come, that's fine. You know what? I can handle this. And the reason why I can handle that is because I know that I'm learning something that I've got to do for the future. I know it's teaching me something, that whether I've got to get thicker skin or I've got to learn something in particular. And if I don't learn from that, I'm only going to get it come round again until I learn it. And if I don't learn it, it'll come round again until I learn it. And that's the thing in life. You're never given too much than what you can handle.
Exactly.
And people just got to realise that it doesn't matter how depressed you feel, how bad you feel, how run down you feel, no matter how bad things are getting. You could literally be evicted from your house. You could be literally living on the streets. You could, have people around you that have just fallen away from you and not friends no more. But there's a reason for that. But that comes to light afterwards. And people just got to understand that. So when I get adversities nowadays, and it's probably exactly the same with you, is you get an adversity and you go, okay, let's roll with this. Get the surfboard out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. And it's interesting. I mean, I know you work with people too on mindset and that. And I say to people, there's nothing better than experience. And you can't learn from other people's experience. You can read a book and get inspired. You can listen to a speaker and get inspired. But that's all it is. It's inspiration. And that inspiration is really just reminding you that, you know what, I'm also going through challenges, and if they can go through their challenges and really see the best side of it and make the best of it, then then I can do the same thing. Everybody has pain. Pain is part of life, but what we all do, it's about how we use that pain, like you say. It's the gift we take from it, and there's no way around it. There's no ways that you can sidestep it. You can't. Nobody gets through this life without pain. Nobody gets through this life without experiencing some form of adversity. But it's the experience of that adversity, and then when you come through it, you say, well, actually, you know what? I didn't die. I'm still here. I'm still alive. And, I lost my house, but actually I'm still alive. You know what I mean? I'm still healthy. Or I've lost my marriage, or whatever it is, or God forbid, I've lost my child. I've had lots of friends who have lost children. Lots of my friends have actually lost kids, drownings, cancer. It's painful, right?
I lost my brother when I was 11. He was 16. He got in a car accident. He got decapitated.
Wow. Gee whiz.
So you can imagine, as a 11-year-old,
yes,
it's like going through that kind of adversity.
Oh my gosh.
And at the age of 8, I had my nan pass away, and she was like a mother to me. She was the closest thing I had.
Yeah.
So it was very much going through all these kind of adversities at a very young age, and getting bullied at school, and not having a fantastic family home life because my mum was in and out of hospital where she was ill. So it was very much that I could literally slip my wrist there and then, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
But I was stronger than that, because I knew deep down that I was here for something. I knew that I was going to do something later on in my life. I didn't know what, I didn't know when, I just knew it was coming. And to do that, I had to be here, and I had to be strong, and I had to go through these. So at a very young age, in my mind, about the age of 14, 15, I turned around and said, I just accept everything that happens to me, no matter how bad it is or what happens, because I know I'm going to learn by it, and I'm going to use it at a later date, and it's going to help other people.
Yeah, awesome.
And by doing that, that's how I overcome the sadness, I overcome the feelings of dread of waking up every day. It was like, it's all right, I can do this. I can wake up because I'm going to help someone else. It's gonna happen. And that's awesome. What I did.
Yeah, it's so it's uncanny that how many similarities we have. Just the more I listen to you, the more I think, wow, such crossover.
Yeah.
And we've only, for people who are watching this and listening to this, you and I have only just recently met, haven't we? This is the second conversation we've had, which has been online, isn't it? But it's amazing because growing up, and even growing up next to a police station for the first 6 years of my life, 66 when I was born to 72, 4.5 years of age, hearing a man screaming over the wall next door, climbing on the wall, looking into the police yard next door through a little gap in the wall, and watching, a black man getting beaten to death by a white policeman with a big stick, with a whip actually called a shambok, which we call a shambok in South Africa, which is made of natural material. Watching that and not telling anyone about it because I thought I'd get into trouble. But even then, I kind of also had the same feeling as you, almost like a spiritual sort of knowing, right? That that my life was going to mean something, you know, and I didn't quite understand it for a long time. But I always, as a youngster growing up, I always thought, you know, I don't know what life's about, but I know that there's something for me. I'm here for a reason, you know, I'm here for a reason. And I guess that's why I always tell people, I say there's no benefit to procrastination unless you procrastinate your own suicide, which is what I did. I procrastinated my own suicide. I kept putting it off, and I said, I'll do it tomorrow. And thankfully, I never ever did it. However, you know, even then, you know, just understanding that, you know, I must stick around because I don't know why I'm here, but there's a reason I'm here. You know what I mean? And now, you know, I've worked with so many people. I've worked at every level of business. I've coached people at every level of business and sport too. I've worked with some of the biggest global brands. I've worked with amazing, world champion rugby players, and I always tell people, you know, that it's all about your spiritual development. You know, everybody comes to this earth for their own reason. The soul knows why they're here. Your soul knows why it's here. If you're listening to this, if you're going through a challenge right now, if you're in a dark place right now, if you're up against the wall, if you're dealing with your own demons, I can tell you right now that you're on this earth for your own spiritual curriculum, and you need to discover what that is. You need to go deep. And that's why personal development is great. However, personal development only takes you so deep. You need to go into the next level, which is spiritual development, which means now you need to understand what your soul's purpose is doing here. What's your soul's purpose on this earth? Because when you can find out what your own spiritual curriculum is, then you can really align yourself with universal mind. And then what you can do is now you can come from a much higher consciousness and you can live an authentic life. And that's what life is all about. And that's why money will never make people happy. Fame will never make people happy. Instagram will never make people happy. None of that shit makes anybody happy. What makes you happy is being authentic and living from your heart and understanding what your soul's purpose is, and then aligning yourself with that, even if it's scary, even if it means going through painful experiences, because that will really open your life up to brand new possibilities. But you must have then the courage to step through that fear and take those opportunities and make them into something amazing. So, yeah, I don't know why I went off on that tangent there, but I was just, I was inspired to just share that, I suppose. But
it feels like
I'm passionate about, about helping people like you, and having gone through so many different challenges myself, and then seeing people getting stuck, and only stuck because of the fact they're listening to the little voice in their head. And I tell people all the time, don't listen to that little voice in your head. It'll keep you stuck. You're going to start listening to your heart. You're going to listen to a higher consciousness. You're going to listen to your authentic self, your connection with universal mind. That's where you really want to get into, because that's really going to set you free.
Do you know what? It's so ironic. The fact is, I'd say to you, like, you know, if you had the time, and if any time you sit in there and you've got nothing to do, have a look through my Content Tuesdays, because it's like you and me were cut from the same cloth in
Content
every
Tuesdays,
way.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, Content Tuesdays. Me and you are cut from the same cloth, because everything that you say in is exactly how I feel and what I stand for. Awesome. And, you know, completely understand where you're coming from. And I suppose there's a lot of people out there that do follow me on here that have heard a lot of that, because it's very much, and it's nice to get that from somebody else, because it's like, you know, that you're on the same wavelength, but you know you're going the same way, you're going the right way.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's like, you know, people just got to understand themselves before they try and understand anything else.
Absolutely.
Because if they don't understand themselves, they're never going to get themselves out of a hole. And if you don't get yourself out of a hole, you ain't going to go nowhere. Because, you know, as you were saying, it doesn't matter whether you're rich, you're famous. It doesn't matter if you know loads of people. You know, if you're not doing the thing that serves you, that makes you feel like you should be doing it in your life, then you're not really doing anything.
No. It's the old adage that stands true, and it stood true for thousands of years. It's know thyself.
Yeah,
and then,
absolutely.
And then if you take that to the next level, it's be thyself. You know, you got to first understand who you are, and then you got to be what you find out that you are.
Yeah.
You know, so it's wonderful. And you know, when you say we cut from the same cloth, I mean, I'm just listening to you. What you've shared with me is really, it blows me away when you told me what you've just told me about having your back broken, and you know, and the experiences that you've been through with your brother, and gosh. And I can understand, you know, somebody like yourself who's sitting there with a smile on your face, so optimistic, so positive, and then making a difference in other people's lives. It doesn't, you know, I can see without you even having to tell me anything, I can understand that you're an old soul, you know, and that you are, you know, that you've obviously turned your worst days into your best days. That says something about your psychology. It says something about your spirituality, you know. So, yeah, it's great to meet another soul on the path, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, it's like, you know, people say to me, are you having a good day today? I have a good day every day. I wake up. You know, if I wake up, I'm having a good day.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I wake up in a bad mood, there's got to be a reason. Is it the fact I've not had enough sleep, not enough to drink? You know, it's got to be a reason. And even if it comes down to, I mean, even Brad says to me, Max, you don't seem to stress. and it's like, even if he's running around like a headless chicken doing something, and I've just said to him, like, take a step back, what needs doing, move forward with it. And that's very much me. And I think it surprises him of how much that I do step back and just watch what's going on, and just do what needs to be done.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't see the point of stressing, because if you stress about something, your brain then gets all muzzy, and you're never going to be able to do anything anyway, because you're too hyped up and too stressed. So it's easier to take a step back and just deal with what you've got to deal with, and take it one step at a time.
Absolutely. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head. It's so true. You on point there, definitely. You know, it's just listening to you, and you say, you know, you wake up in a bad mood. It's because probably lack of sleep, and sometimes I have a severe lack of sleep. I travel so much, and sleep deprivation is one of the worst things. But I was just, you know, you just made me think there when you were saying that. I was thinking, wow, you know, I haven't been in a bad mood for years, you know. And I remember being in a bad mood all the time. I was always in a bad mood because I was always pissed off about life, because I was pissed off about so many things that I felt I didn't have or that I was missing. And you know, it's amazing when you actually learn about yourself and you discover who you really are, and really what life is about is knowing yourself, as you said, and then also it's about discovering what you're made of and why you came to this earth and how you can fulfill that purpose, right? And you know, it's yeah, exactly as is it Alima? Yes, as Alima said, it's about being authentic, right? When you can be authentically yourself and be comfortable in your own skin, then you're never in a bad mood, right? You might have moments. Now, it doesn't make me a saint. I doubt you're a saint too. It just means that you spend far less time being upset, and when you are upset, especially if you've trained yourself, like I've trained myself, and I know you've trained yourself just from the little I know of you. It's about training your spiritual muscle, your heart, or training your psychological muscle, your emotional muscles, so that you can spend a short time being upset and then looking for the reason, or looking for the blessing, or turning it around and profiting from that, right?
Yeah.
Turning it into an opportunity, and then you get back into that place where you feel good, because life is about feeling good. You were designed to feel good. And here's the thing, my friends, anyone who's watching this, Neville, if you've ever heard of a man called Neville, or Neville Goddard, he wrote a book. He's written many books, but he was a great teacher. He was one of Wayne Dyer's favorite people. And he wrote a book, a very easy book to read. It's called Feeling is the Secret. Now, that statement, or that title of that book, it tells you exactly what it tells you.
Yeah.
Feeling is the secret. What does that mean? That simply means that if you feel good, you'll get good things. You'll have a good life. But there's the trick now. It's got to be authentic. You got to authentically feel good for no reason. It's not about feeling good because you've had a good day, or because you've just got a big chunk of money, or because someone told you they love you, or because you got a new car, or because you got a new job. It's about feeling good because you are allowed to feel good for no reason. And that means when you open your eyes, you say, wow, it's another day. Just like you said, Maxine, I know somebody who's got a personal philosophy, and his personal philosophy is every day above ground is a great day to be happy, right? Every day above ground is a great day. Personally, every single morning for the last 20 years, without fail, even when I don't feel good, and I often, sometimes, you know, I have moments when I don't feel good. I'm tired. I haven't slept. You know, I've been traveling. I've been on the stage for 3-4 days in a row in a different country. But every morning without fail, as I open my eyes, I say, good morning, good morning. It's great to be alive. Today is my favorite day. I don't believe in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Those are just labels. I believe that today is the day. And tomorrow will be today when we wake up. And then the next day will be today when we wake up. There is no such thing as, you know, Monday or Tuesday. It's today. It's always today. And now is always the moment. So today is always my favorite day. And every day is a good day, because even if I have a tough time, even if I have a challenge, even if something goes wrong, I know that I'm going to actually learn from that. Even if I don't get the lesson immediately, I know that at some point I'm going to get the lesson. I don't know why it's happening. And sometimes I get bad news, just like we all do. I go through painful experiences like we all do. And even if I don't understand it at that moment, I've trained myself to know that at some point I'm going to get that lesson. At some point, that's going to turn into something amazing. And I'm going to say, oh my God, I'm so glad that happened to me. Thank you, God. Yeah.
Yeah. And I completely, I mean, I'm just like sitting there thinking he's just picking my brain right now. It's just like everything's the same. And when people say to me, oh, what are you doing at the weekend? Well, what's the weekend? Every day is another day. It's the same as yesterday, same as the day before. It's the same as tomorrow. You know, it's another day that I'm getting up and doing what needs to be done to move myself forward to where I need to be.
Absolutely.
You know, and so, you know, when you're saying about labelling days, it's like, yeah, completely agree on that one.
Yeah.
And when you were saying it, like the other stuff as well, absolutely. You know, everything that you're saying resonates me 110%. And people just got to understand that they've, you know, training your brain to wake up. I mean, I wake up every morning, even if it, you know, as you said, like, you know, I don't wake up in a bad mood. I mean, I'm one of these people that wakes up in the morning. I don't even take an hour to wake up. I wake up, open my eyes, I go, morning, you know, and my day has started. You know, there is no grouchy bear in the morning for an hour. There is none of that. It is literally, I'm just awake. And the thing is, it's like I sit and think, you know, I've got a roof over my head, I've got food in my belly, I've got my taps, you know, they run water, and I've got my children. So what have I not got to be grateful for? Okay, so perhaps it might be that I've got a massive bill to pay. Do you know what? That's fine. I'll pay that bill, and we just lived off beans on toast for a couple of weeks. So what? Do you know what? Do you think myself lucky I've actually got beans on toast to live off of? So it's very much, it doesn't matter what situation comes up. It's looking at the positive inside of everything. Looking at, you know, even when it comes down to it, me and Brad do exactly the same thing. We stay up for 48 hours and just work constantly. It happens, right? And he sits there and he goes, Max, go and get some rest. And I know we can get some rest after, because I know things need doing, because I also know balance. And I know when my body says it's time to shut down now. So then I'll shut down and I'll say enough is enough. Because I know that I'm not going to be proactive, I'm not going to be productive from what I need to do the next day. And the thing is, it's like I still wake up after 3 hours sleep. I mean, I went and did that 10-hour, the 10-hour we did the other day. You know, when you came on live, was at Alfie Best. I had 3 hours sleep that night. And it was like, you know, did another 10 hours. We finished that. We went on to KFC and me and Brad were chatting. And then we did Roman Aaron and we went on live again. And it was just like things like that. And people were like, I don't know how you do it. It's like, well, the way I look at it, it's like, not only am I getting all this experience, not only am I getting to meet people like yourself, which is absolutely amazing, you know, and it's good to find people that are so like-minded. And it's like it's experience I'm learning, you know, what is there not to like? But I don't know how you can handle it. Well, what is there not to handle? I just can't get down to that kind of way of thinking. Because
it's your passion, isn't it? When you're passionate about something, it's easy, isn't it? And you can get so focused and so passionate about something, time doesn't matter, you know? Time's irrelevant.
And people say to me, it's like, you know, you go to work this, and I was like, I'm not working, I'm just doing something that I love. You know, and every day is not work to me because I enjoy it. And that's what they say, don't they? If you find your why and you find out exactly what you're meant to be doing, you never work again a day in your life.
Absolutely, it's so true. That statement is almost like it's become a cliche, but it's so true, right? And I mean, you know, it is absolutely true. And when people hear that phrase, if somebody, you know, I've heard people hear that phrase and say something snide, say, you know, snide remark about it, etc. It's only because they are in the opposite kind of experience where they're not actually enjoying their job, and hence they have to work. And when you have to work, you know, and you're not choosing to work, it's a very different experience of life. You know, I'm in agreement. You know, I haven't worked a day in my life since I actually, you know, decided to follow this path, which was, you know, 20 years ago, you know, when I actually, you know, built up the courage to say, right, this is going to be my life for the rest of my life. This is what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen. I don't know where the money's going to come from, but I'm going to do this because I love to do it and because I'm good at it and because I love this work and it's changed my life and I want to bring it to as many people as possible. I trust that it's going to work out. And it's been up and down, right? I've been broke many times. You know, I've had many times where I couldn't feed my kids. I couldn't put fuel in my car, but I just had faith and I just kept moving forward. And now I'm very blessed. I pinch myself that business is booming. It's getting better all the time. I've had, you know, last year was my best year since I lost everything and I had to restart again in 2012. And this year is going to be even better. I mean, I've got bookings until December already. I'm so blessed, right? I was looking at my calendar with my Russian promoter on Friday and I was trying to find space. And we were both laughing about the fact that I'm so booked up already until December. So I'm blessed. But, you know, you have to go through that. You know, like you say, you've got to go through the tough times. You've got to have faith. You just got to keep moving forward. You've got to find your passion and you've got to do what you love. And when you love what you do, then the rest takes care of itself. But it's about feeling good while you're doing it and training yourself to feel good, even though you're not seeing the rewards that you want immediately. Those rewards never come immediately. You know, every overnight success takes 15 or 20 years. So I know that for a fact. I've been doing this 20 years, you know. So, you know, people say, well, you know, how do you get there? We say, we've got to put the work in. Got to put the work in, you know. You just got to keep putting the work in. Yeah, I mean, even our friend here who's
Avi.
What's
I call him Murphy. It's easier. We call him Murphy. Yeah.
I truly believe this. Jacked in my job in with the aim of betterment. Believe in God, universe, multiverse will provide. Yeah, for sure. And it also helps to have a plan. I was the same as you, Abby. I remember, I came back from UPW in 1999, and I was so fired up. And I phoned the bank and I said, I'm done. I'm done. I had been doing 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for, I don't know, it was back at least 18 months solidly. I phoned the bank. I said, I'm done. And then what I did was I didn't have a plan, but all I had was optimism and enthusiasm and the crazy ideas, and I knew that I was going to stay clean, and I knew that I was going to change my life. And I actually got another job at a different bank, but I designed it this time. I just made it happen. 4 days on, 4 days off, 4 days on, 4 days off. In those 4 days off, I kept working on myself, and slowly but surely, I started moving forward. It hasn't been easy, but is it worth it? Oh my gosh, it's so worth it. Now traveling around the world, so blessed, meeting amazing people, working with amazing clients, running amazing workshops, hanging out with, helping Tony to deliver his workshops, and, just resonating with what you said earlier, Maxine, about passion and working 48 hours straight. I have people telling me the same thing. How do you do that? It's like, I went to Date with Destiny with Tony, helping Tony at Date with Destiny, and there was nearly 5,000 people, and we had 82 teams. It was, in Florida, and I was out there. It's a 6-day program, but I had to be 4 days earlier. I had to 4 days before it started, and then, and stayed a couple of days afterwards. But during that whole program, I was sleeping on average 2-3 hours a night, and that's for 10 days straight. And people say, well, how the hell do you do that? And I said, because it's so enjoyable, and it's so in line with what I do, and so in line with my passion that it's irrelevant, right? You wake up in the morning after 2 hours of sleep, and you're so excited for another day, right? The passion is what takes you there, right? So it's all about finding that passion, so you can really deliver on what you're here to deliver on.
Absolutely. And do you know what? It's actually quite ironic as well. Is that you're completely booked up to December, but then I got you
Not
into
completely. I've got some gaps here and there, which I obviously want to keep free for others, for myself, for my kids, for hanging out with people I love, etc. But you were saying, sorry.
No, I was just saying that you're booked up till December, obviously in the work side of it, and here we are talking on here, and it must have been a reason why we had to get together to do this, and you had this particular space available, because I do special guests on a Thursday at 8 o'clock, and you had Thursday at 8 o'clock available.
Yeah, I did, for sure. And I've just, as you know, I just came in, arrived at home about 20 minutes before we came live here, and I just I've had a full-on day, all day. I'm just mastermind meeting this morning with my mastermind. We do once a month. I'm part of a mastermind with some amazing guys. There was a meeting. Then I was met with one of my mentees. I mentor 5 or 6 young people, as well as coaching clients. So it's been a full-on day. But obviously I had this free, and we spoke about it last week, didn't we? I said I've actually got that free. And I drove in 20 minutes, got home 20 minutes before we came live, and it's been great talking to you. Time's flying, isn't it? I think we've been on here for a little while already, haven't we?
Yeah, about 50 minutes already.
50?
50, yeah.
Wow, gee whiz. Seriously, nearly an hour.
Are you having fun?
Yeah.
See, it's what happens when you have fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you got to go, or you still got time?
I've got about 10 minutes.
Okay. So let's fly through these then. So let's help out these people that are actually going to be standing on that stage in February. Yeah. So let's go on to talking about, obviously, we know that you talk on stage yourself, and you've worked with Tony Robbins for a number of years, and you stand up on these stages with him or instead of him. What do you normally do?
So I'm one of Tony's trainers, and I'm very privileged to be part of an elite group of people who can call themselves a Tony Robbins trainer. So what that means is when he does big programs like UPW, which is Unleash the Power Within, which is taking place in April at the XL, we usually have several thousand people. Last year we had 13,000. This year probably about 15,000. So as a trainer, we are called in to assist with the facilitation of that program, because Tony's one guy. Although he's amazing, he does need a team to help make that happen. So
absolutely,
as a trainer, we help to make that happen. I also do. Apart from speaking for myself, I speak to corporates. I've got corporate clients. I do my own workshops. I've got a 3-day workshop. I obviously do coaching, so I also then do UPW previews. So I usually have, several UPW previews booked in throughout the year in different parts of the country, different parts of the world, different parts of Europe, Russia. And what that means is then I help promote Unleash the Power Within, which is Tony's 4-day program. So that's what I do. I speak, run workshops, do UPW previews, help out at Tony's workshops, coach, and then also mentor young people. And all of it's tied together. It's all kind of the same thing. And and obviously Tony's been a big mentor, a big inspiration for me. One of my favorite teachers since I came across his work. Not the only teacher I've had. I've had many teachers. Wayne Dye, Marion Williamson, Deepak. There's so many people that I've followed over the last 30 years. 30 years of educating myself around this subject. I've had many teachers, and everyone. And I've got to the point where everyone's a teacher. You my teacher. Right now, I'm learning things from you. I've just learned things about you that's blown my mind. Right? I think, wow, gosh, what you've been through, the pain that you've experienced, right? The person that it's made you become. And I think everyone we meet day to day, the lady I met today at the Hilton Hotel, where I was having a meeting, the lady who served me my tea, even her, right, is a teacher. Denisa was her name, and we had a great interaction. So I'm always connecting with people all the time, and life is your teacher if you're open to it. And life is always offering you the opportunity to go deeper, to learn more, to expand your consciousness. So I've had many teachers, and I'm very blessed, to be able to spend time with Tony. I've also actually, as a speaker, a professional speaker myself, I've spoken on great stages. I've spoken at the NAC, the National Achievers Congress, which is a massive event that takes place around the world. And they have the top speakers in the world, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki. They've even had people like Donald Trump, all kinds of great speakers. And I was fortunate to be able to speak in 2016 in London at the NAC. I think it was the last NAC they actually did in London. 2016 in October, and I was one of the speakers, and Tony was the main speaker, so that was fantastic to be able to speak at the same event as him. And
you do realise that I'm going to get you to put a word in so I can interview him, don't you?
Say again?
You do realise I'm going to get you to put a word in so I can interview him?
All I will say is that there's a long queue, right? So
yeah, but I know that, but then the difference is I can sort of jump the queue.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, if you hold that vision, and then I'm sure you, with your
that vision is there. Don't you worry about that. They say you're 5 steps away from the person that you'd like to interview. Absolutely. Well, I'm now 1 step away.
Absolutely. Well, it's a good vision. Hold that vision. Hold that manifestation, and we'll see what happens, right?
Absolutely. Positive thinking.
Put it on your dream board.
It's on there. It's on there. Don't you worry about that.
Good. And so, right. So it's UPW is a great program. It's coming up in April, and it's going to be amazing. And then so that's pretty much. I've had so many amazing people who have influenced my life. Great authors, speakers, teachers, and even people that who are not that famous, right, who have impacted me at some level, right. So it's been a great journey. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad that you've got everything there now compared to if you look back on yourself 10 years ago to where you are now. You could sit there and go, I'm glad I went through that, so it makes me the person I am today, and I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't gone through all that adversity.
Without doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's help these people out that we've got coming on this stage, because we've got a lot of new speakers that have never actually been on stage, that they're like, they're going to be stressed as anything coming up on there. Obviously I've been speaking to them because what I do is I get them on the broadcasting, so they get used to doing something in front of people, like as in like this, and then they get to stand on stage as well. So one of your things is you find your voice, find your message.
Yeah.
So obviously you're the master of communication. Once they stand up on that stage, whether they've got 5 minutes, whether they've got 10 minutes, whatever they've got, what would you say the best way for them to put it out there?
Well, what I would say is that first of all, if you are a new speaker and you're nervous, reframe that. And rather than saying I'm nervous, reframe it and say my body is preparing. My body is getting ready. Because nerves, that's what nerves are. Nerves are your body preparing. And what it really means is your body's getting ready because your mind is telling you that something is coming and you better be ready for it. And if you're unprepared, it makes it more stressful. So rather than being unprepared, make sure you're prepared if you're speaking. Even if you've got 10 minutes, just make sure that whatever it is you're going to speak about, whether it's just telling your story or whatever it is, just make sure that you are prepared and practice it. You've got still about, I think we've still got about 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, about 10 days, something like that.
About 10 days. So you've got 10 days to practice. Practice as many times as you can in the 10 days. what I tell people to do when I work with speakers, and I've worked with a lot of speakers, I say to them, you can practice all the time. You practice at home, practice in the mirror, practice in your living room. Set up some cushions in your living room, get pieces of paper, draw a smiley face on each piece of paper, put it on the cushion, and then draw a couple of faces with a straight mouth. In other words, imagine somebody who's got no emotion, and even draw a couple of faces with an upside down mouth, somebody who's maybe not enjoying themselves. So it gives you what it does is it will actually give your mind, it'll give your mind something. It gives it the mind the experience of, oh gosh, I'm dealing with different people in the audience. And don't allow that to distract you, right? So practice talking to imaginary people. Practice what you're going to say over and over and over again. And make sure you got your content. I always tell people, when I train speakers, I train them on 5 C's. C number 1, content. You must know what you're going to talk about. You must know why you're going to talk about it. You got to know your content. Don't borrow anybody else's content. And if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you do, make sure you credit someone else. If you use somebody else's content, credit them. Say, oh, I learned this from that person. I learned this from that person. I learned this from that book. And it really helped me. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with crediting. There's something very wrong with taking something from someone else and pretending it's your own. Because now people are very smart. Audiences are very smart. So don't do that. But make sure you understand your content. Credit your content where you can. Secondly, content breeds confidence. So if you know your content inside out, back to front, upside down, then if you know what you're going to say, then you've got confidence, right? And Ginger says visualizing. Yes, when you practice, you must visualize while you practice. You must imagine yourself. So not only must you practice, close your eyes and imagine yourself on the stage delivering an amazing talk. In fact, even remove yourself from yourself and see yourself on the stage, see yourself connecting with the audience and having an impact. So do it from a number of different ways. But confidence is bred by content. When you know your content, then you've got confidence. Third C, you must deliver with conviction. You might be able to tell that I've got some passion, I'm quite intense. And I'm the same when I'm on stage, because conviction is what really moves people. You must deliver with conviction. So in other words, you must demonstrate your passion. The fourth one is you must be congruent. In other words, you must use your own stories from your own life. Don't take someone else's stories. Don't borrow stories from a book. Take your own stories, and everybody's lives is full of content. Your own life is full of content. Just look at your own life and say, where have I had the greatest challenges, or where can I tell, what story can I use from my own life, right? People love stories. So be congruent. Congruent means you're authentic. It means that what you say out of your mouth matches your body language. The body is a very smart piece of equipment, your unconscious mind. If you say something you don't believe, your body will demonstrate that, and the audience will pick it up unconsciously, and they will feel it even if they don't understand it. So be congruent. And the fifth one is to deliver with certainty. In other words, you want to transfer your own certainty. Any audience, the reason an audience is in front of a speaker or a teacher of any kind is because the audience is looking for certainty. That's why an audience goes to listen to somebody. That's why anyone goes to any speech or any presentation, because unconsciously they need some kind of certainty. They're looking for a guarantee. Please tell me my life's going to be okay. Please tell me I'm going to be happy next year. Please tell me I'm going to find love. Please tell me I'm going to turn this business into a success. Please tell me I'm still going to have my job next year. Please guarantee me my life's going to be better next year or next month or next week. So you got to deliver with that kind of certainty. So those are the 5 C's I would inquire. I'll say I would encourage anyone who's watching this, who's a newbie speaker, who's going to be on that stage. Content, confidence, conviction, congruence, and certainty. Those are the 5 C's that will help you to really deliver. And even if you only got 10 minutes, make sure that you stick to those 10 minutes. There's nothing worse than going over your time. You got to finish on time, even if you're not finished. So be on time. Know what you're going to say. Less is more. Less is more, right? Be succinct. If you can be succinct, then you can really make a difference, right? Because then you can. So it's really about that. And then deliver it with passion. Have fun. Last, but have fun. Enjoy it, right? Enjoy it. And remember, everybody starts somewhere. So don't worry about it, right? And last thing I would say is don't give yourself a hard time, right? Just enjoy it. And remember, your body's preparing. So use your nerves, reframe it. Say, I'm excited. My body's getting ready. I'm going to deliver. And know what you're going to say, and then have some fun. Go out there and just have fun. Enjoy it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the best way to impact a room, what would you say? As in, you want to go in there, as for someone's a speaker that's literally only got 5 minutes, they've not got loads of content that they can actually put out there, but they need to go out there and make an impact straight away, do what needs to be done, and come off the stage. As you said, timing is a key.
Yeah.
So what would you say to impact?
Energy. Energy is what creates impact. You got to use energy effectively. And this is one of the greatest challenges for new speakers. And I've worked with lots of novice speakers, and I've worked with I've worked with CEOs of organizations, MDs of organizations that give company presentations all the time. And even though they do that, they still don't do it effectively because they don't use energy correctly. So this is a very good thing when it comes to speaking. Remember this as if you're a newbie speaker. And even if you're a speaker who's been speaking a long time, you want to notice this in yourself, because this is how you become a much better speaker, is by constantly looking at how you can improve. Energy is what comes out of you. And if you've got too much nervous energy, it'll come out in all different directions if you don't channel it effectively. You've got to channel it effectively. And how you do that is by standing still. Stand still on 2 feet. Don't move around. Don't walk back and forth. Don't rock back and forth. Just stand still. Plant yourself to the earth. Stand still and let the energy come out of your mouth, out of your eyes, and out of your face. And then occasionally use your hands to make gestures. But if you use energy like that effectively, and speak to the back of the room, don't speak to the front row of the room, which is what most newbies do, because they're speaking to the people they can see directly in front of them. Speak to the whole room and use eye contact. Eye contact. Look somebody in the eye for 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Get to the end of your sentence. Look at someone else in the eye for 5, 10 seconds. Get to the end of your sentence. Look for someone else in the eye. That's how you create impact. Eye contact, energy, stand still, use your voice, talk to the back of the room.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to say to you, last words from you, Alan.
Last words from me. Remember, everything's always on the way. Nothing is ever in the way. That means, for me personally, that every challenge is a gift. And no matter what you're facing, no matter how dark times are right now, remember, it's on the way. And you are on the way to something better all the time. But you got to believe it, and then you got to keep moving forward. Remember, everything's a blessing. Maxine, thanks so much for having me. It's been amazing talking to you, my friend. I look forward to speaking to you again, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be here, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say thank you very much for you, Alan. You took your time out to literally, as you finish work today, come straight in and come straight online. And it's been absolutely amazing. And you know what? I resonate with you so much. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the 2nd and 3rd of February. Ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to say to you, if you want to come and see Alan, to come and see, he's one of our big speakers. Come and see him. You've seen exactly what he's all about now. Love him to pieces. He's an absolutely amazing guy. 2nd and 3rd of February at the Islet Hotel in London. We're going to be there. Got over 45 international speakers. It's going to be an amazing day. You're going to learn so much. Look what you've learned already today. And that's just someone speaking for an hour. And with that one, we didn't even just do content. We did about his life as well. So it's very much, you imagine if you're giving content over, but it's going to be 12 hours a day over 2 days. You get a full 24 hours worth of content. And it's going to be an absolutely amazing day. So what I want to say to you, come and get your tickets. We've got the website here. All you got to do is click on the website. I'm going to put it into the comments box. So at least then you can click on it anytime you want, and you can actually get your tickets straight away. They range from £24.50 and they go right up to £198.50. That's if you would like to meet someone like Alan over the back in the green room, and you can come and meet the VIPs, have your picture taken, and obviously ask some questions. Other than that, you can come and sit in the audience and meet and greet with the people that are there. At the end of the day, it's going to be an amazing time. It's going to be an amazing event with so many people you can network with, so much information you can take away. Just make sure you bring your pen and paper. So I want to say thank you very much for Alan.
Can I say one more thing? Can I say
absolutely?
One more thing? Sorry, Maxine, about the event. Anyone who's watching this, if you've, what I would just reiterate what Maxine said. Make sure you come down to that event. It's going to be an amazing event, and more importantly, bring your friends and your family. And Maxine pointed something out the other day when I was talking with her and Bradley, and it was very, very smart way to look at it. When you look at the price, even if you only pay £24 to come over 2 days, it's about an hour per pound. So in other words, £1 an hour for 2 days to get access to some of the best speakers in the world. So bring your family, bring your friends. If you're coming to hear me specifically, or if you catch my talk, I can tell you right now that what I'm going to be sharing is called spiritual psychology. And I'm going to be, which is my passion. I've been teaching that for a long time now. And it's all about how you can live from an authentic state of mind, an authentic state of being. And it's about aligning yourself with universal mind and aligning your 3 different levels of mind: your conscious mind, your unconscious, and your superconscious. The 3 levels of mind that you have access to while you're alive on this planet. And it's about aligning with the universal mind so you can really live from your authentic self. That means you're going to be authentically happy and authentically achieve success from your heart, not from the ego. In other words, you can learn how to manage your ego, put it to rest, and then get into your heart and live from that state of being. And that changes everything. So I look forward to meeting you there. If you're going to come to the event, make sure you come and say hello. And, I look forward to meeting you, Abby. And bring your friends, bring your family. And as Maxine said, get your ticket now. The links, as Maxine's posted the link, don't hesitate. It's going to be an amazing event. And some of the other speakers, I know most of the other international speakers, and I know some of them are flying in, and it's going to be a great event. So get there, and I look forward to meeting you. And I'll see you there soon, Max.
Absolutely. So goodbye from me. See you later. And goodbye from Alan.
Goodbye. Listen, let me say, I'm sorry I called you Max there.
No, you can call me Max, it's fine.
My ex-wife is Maxine, and I call her Max, and it just happened to come out there. I don't know. Do your friends call you Max?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, good. Nice talking to you. Take care.
Yeah. Say goodbye to the audience.
Cheers, audience.